Looking at the new Developmental Counseling Form, the 4856, and everything that's wrong with it that nobody's talking about. So let me put a few disclaimers out there first. Number one, if you don't know what a 4856 is, it is the counseling form that Army leaders use to counsel subordinates. Two, this is the form that you have. This is the tool that you have. And so if you are an NCO, this is the tool that you need to use. So don't get it twisted. As NCOs, it is our job to execute. I want to tell you a couple of good things about it and a couple things that I have issues with it and why I have issues with it and what I think that it does ultimately to the Corps and non-commissioned officers. Now, all that being said, man, the Developmental Counseling Form is and has always been a good form, and I'm going to be throwing up some screenshots, and I'll leave a link down in the description below if you want to go and download it yourself. Of course, if you're an NCO, man, you need to have this as part of your kit bag 24/7. But for those who are not in the Army, or maybe you used to be and you want to know what the hell we're talking about, you can go check this thing out. It's cool in some ways. It's a little bit more interactive than our older forms. They used to not be fillable, and then they were all XFDL, and that went away, and now we use PDF, and revisions change. You can be guaranteed that this is going to be asked on promotion boards for probably a little bit. So let's do a preview, if you will, of the form and its different formats, and then we'll go in and talk about some things that are right and wrong and indifferent. All right, so we got this thing opened up, and we can see, it's still the good old Developmental Counseling Form. And of course, we've gone from revisions of XFDL to PDF and non-fillable, and then fillable, and now we have this new one, which is a little bit more interactive. So, I mean, that's cool, right? I'm sure somebody got a Legion of Merit for that. Part 1, administrative data remains the same. We can see all that up there. No changes. And Part 2, some background information, the purpose of the counseling. That kind of remains the same, but except we do have some additional check marks here, right? And we can see if we click directive, combined, or non-directive, which is just the approach. It's how an NCO approaches the subordinate in this event. Nothing changes. And if I scroll down, nothing, there's no page 2. But if I go and select the general form, now it begins to look like an old 4856 that we've all been accustomed to. We have Part 3, the summary of the counseling with some key points of discussion. And then we have a plan of action, a session closing, leader responsibilities, assessment, and then some signatures down below for the assessment for the plan of action. So that all remains unchanged. So that's kind of cool, right? So let's go to professional growth. Now we see that there are some weird things going on in this PDF. It kind of mutates itself. And now we have our purpose of the counseling, of course. Then we go down to key points. And now we have 5 key points for the counseling. That's awesome. So looking at opportunities for school, for the soldier's strengths, weaknesses, and Army value stuff, and the leader identified strengths, and some short-term and long-term goals and objectives. Then we have a plan of action, which of course is specific and measurable, all that jazz. When we're going to assess, whether it's going to be monthly, quarterly, or if it's a custom thing that we're looking at. And then our leader responsibilities. And then the assessment of the plan of action. Right? And then if we go and we click performance, let's click performance. Now, and this is AKA a monthly counseling, we have some training data that's inputted. That way we can document ACFT scores and weapons qual and all that stuff. Look at their GT score and whether or not they have their expert proficiency badge for whatever their branch is. And now in Part 3 we have 8 points of discussion. So we had 5, right? 5, and now we have 8. And we're looking at the soldier's duty performance. So as it's written here, it is 100% past-oriented. This is what you did. This is what happened. And so we're looking at everything from the exhibited Army values, your technical and tactical proficiency, how well you communicate, exhibited effort, personal discipline, how you contributed to the team, your fitness, military bearing and appearance, and balancing personal and work obligations, right? And then page 2 is the same. So we have our plan of action, session closing, and then the assessment of the plan of action. And then we can go over and click for an event-oriented counseling. If I do that, and you'll notice, right, again, nothing changes in the form if we select a different approach. So event-oriented counseling, now we have everything from superior performance or substandard performance, reception and integration counseling, promotion, crisis, all the different types of event-oriented counseling, and whether or not somebody's being referred or recommended for adverse separation. Now, I think on that one, if you click, we get some different boxes that kind of come up, right? So let's just superior performance. We got 3 points to maintain. Page 2 is all the same. Reception integration. Now we have establishment of the golden triangle, family, leader, and buddy. Organizational history, which is limited to 2 lines. Soldier programs that are available. Safety and security, on and off duty areas. And again, I haven't tried to print, so I could be wrong, but I mean, the page is only so long, so as it's written, you can only type up to 2 lines and still have it show up. But I could be wrong. I'm going to say a little disclaimer. I have not printed a 4856 on the new form. And then some additional key points of discussion, support functions, foreign host nation stuff, other items of interest, and then session closing and assessment of the plan of action. Right, and if we go to promotion, we can scroll down and we see, do they meet eligible? Are they eligible based off of time and grade, time and service, and notification of the zones, eligibility for consideration. And I'm telling you, man, if you are a specialist, especially if you're a specialist or you're a sergeant, but definitely, I mean, even if you're a PFC, like you can pinpoint these dates and times. You should know this without having to be told because it's your career. And then some identified shortcomings as applicable, whether or not the soldier is recommended or not recommended for promotion. And page 2 is the same. We go to crisis. We scroll down. We have a couple key points to outline the crisis, and then accomplishing activity to relating to the crisis, any short-term needs that might be outlined out there, and strengths that could assist while addressing the crisis. Plan of action. It's a little bit more filled out here for us. Soldier has opportunity to put in some specific things in there in the assessment of the plan of action. Then we have a referral. So key point, let's read more like a general 4856. Now we have another key point. It's going to be the plan of action, assessment, plan of action. Transition counseling. You know these are happening all the time. Reads like regular 4056. Man, that's what TAP is for. Substandard performance. A couple key points. Plan of action, lead responsibility, and assessment. And then adverse separation. That's kind of neat there, though. You know, you got a little block. I mean, I'm going to touch base in here, but how many times has this happened? And then any issues on adverse separation. Of note here, if we go back to substandard performance and we scroll down, is the subordinate being considered for rehabilitative transfer, adverse action, including separation? If you click yes, it tells the NCO that the counselor must inform the impact of the types of discharges, aka a magic bullet statement. The Army could have, put one in there, but in accordance with AR 635-200. but that is what it is. So all in all, I mean, a lot of folks really like the new 4856. You know, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's going to help shape, cultivate, and mentor our junior NCOs into becoming better NCOs, etc., etc. Now, and that being said, let's roll this back a little bit. So forever, if I can quantify that specifically enough as I can, forever, senior NCOs have told junior NCOs that they need to do a better job in counseling their soldiers and those who are in their charge. I've been told that, and I've told junior NCOs that. This is not something new, right? When your CSM, when your first sergeant tells you that you need to stink and do a better job, they were told to do a better job, right? And the people who told them to do a better job were told to do a better job. Let's twist this around just a little bit. As a small group leader at the NCO Academy in Hawaii, which I loved, did about 3.5 years of that, and I took a lot of pride in what I was doing, and I had a great time. If you are a staff sergeant, man, that is a job that you need to go try to get. Go be a small group leader at a Basic Leaders Course Academy. Absolutely phenomenal opportunity to not only connect with soldiers from all branches, but also just to dig into regulation, because that's the only thing that you teach is doctrine. So it's a great opportunity for you to get even more grounded than what you may already be. But every cycle, a graduating class would tell me during our AAR that I did in our classroom that when I get back to my unit, I'm going to do PT right. I'm going to counsel soldiers right, because they had all these aha moments during these classes, right, and during these practical applications and conversations and dialogue. When I go back, I am going to do the right thing, said every soldier who's graduated BLC, at least my students. But it's a shared experience. And of course, the next cycle, and I felt great, like, all right, I really connected with these guys. About 6-7 cycles down the road, I started to really think about this a little bit more and understand that, you know, these guys are going back to their units, and they're going to, you know, face the grind each and every single day. And are they going to fulfill on what they said? Maybe they will, maybe they won't, you know, because there's a lot of external and internal factors that are happening. Right? Just like when I'm going to go back and do PT, and then your first sergeant tells you to do 3 to the left, 3 to the right. Like, this is not what I just got taught at WLC or BLC, right? So I realize, you know, again, all of these soldiers and junior NCOs are going back and saying, I am going to be the change. Well, those NCOs who were junior NCOs, you know, in 2011, 12, 13, in that timeline, have to, you know, for those who are still in, I mean, there's sergeants first class now, and some baby first sergeants out there. Well, here we are, you know, 10 years later, over 10 years later, and we sucked at doing what we said we were going to do. And I put some of that blame on me, right, and my peers to my left and to my right, but I don't know what they have done or haven't done. I can only assume responsibility and accountability for what I have done. That's the only thing you can do, is do right by yourself and those who are in your charge. And if I taught somebody wrong, I mean, that's on me. So bottom line up front, we have decades, and not just the last 10 years, but decades of NCOs telling junior NCOs that you need to do the right thing. All the while, they didn't do the right thing. Now, maybe it's a lesson learned, whatever the case is, and, you know, I got to believe folks have good intentions. But I believe that junior NCOs are doing the best job that they can, and probably more of a point of concern is that the squad leaders and those platoon sergeants and the first sergeants not having dedicated time or not making dedicated time to check the NCOs. So this counseling form, as great as it is, ultimately is helicopter management. It's helicopter leadership, right? I'm telling you how to do your job, and I'm constraining you to a specific way in how to do it. I don't want to address the root cause. I don't want to address the reason why we're here in the first place. I just want to make a change to say that I made a change so that I can tell everybody else that we're making a change. If that doesn't sound like somebody, man, what is going on? So again, this is a tool that we have. This is a tool that we need to use. But I'm telling you, think about it another way. Let's say you have maybe you're in a company, and your company first sergeant conducts or directs PT each and every single day. It's company-led PT, and calls out a specific instructor and go through the motion. Well, that's cool, but I believe that we're not truly empowering our platoon sergeants and those squad leaders to do their JOB. So my own personal opinion is company PT is great, on a Monday and a Friday at most, but you have to allow time for those platoon sergeants to develop a PT plan. You have to allow time for those staff sergeants to do PT and for those team chiefs to lead PT. Because the further down that it's delegated, the harder it is. That's just how that goes. So, but if I don't do that, if I just do this thing and I demonstrate ownership and control of this function and this activity without empowering my junior leaders and my senior NCOs that are in the company, then ultimately I'm holding them back. But if I do that, then I need to go check on learning, right? Same thing with sergeant's time training. How often is that happening? That is one of the best tools that we have in the Army, is sergeant's time training. Yet it's not used effectively because outside influences being up are micromanaging time. They're helicoptering our time. So what you have to do as an NCO is first take this form and run with it. Do the absolute best job that you can, just like you should have been doing with the 4856 in the first place. And then, as you're going, you need to take back an inch, because more than an inch was taken from you in this. It's no longer Sergeant Smith's authority and responsibility behind this 4856. It's bigger than that, because you're being directed on how to do your job down at the team level. It was bad enough when battalion command sergeants majors would direct how a 4856, they'd give you an acronym. Use this acronym to counsel your soldiers, because you don't know what you're doing. Right? Those same CSMs, the people that they were telling that to, those first sergeants, those platoon sergeants, guess who they are now? They're command sergeants majors. Funny how it all comes back around. That's why you have to be careful. And remember the first rule of leadership, that first principle of leadership, to know yourself and to seek self-improvement. Because every time that you go like this, man, there's 3 more pointing right back at you. Team, I'm looking forward to your thoughts and your comments down below about the 4856. Is this something that you're excited about? Or is this we're not even using this thing, and I can't even tell you the last time I counseled my NCOs or soldiers, whatever it is, from spectrum to spectrum, right? Whatever your thoughts are, there ain't no judgment here. Leave them down below. Appreciate you guys. Until then, you stay out there, you keep grinding, and you stay stoked.